All right, happy Saturday, ladies and gentlemen. Sean here with Blue Ridge Silverhound. Hoping everyone is having a great start to the weekend, wherever you may be. But I will tell you this: it's also a good time to just kind of really settle in. Look through some coins. If you're lucky enough, one of those lucky few, to kind of buck the trend of the quote unquote coin shortage and actually you have the ability to obtain some bank boxes, I'd say you are in good shape. We're going to take a look at exactly some of those finds that you guys strive to uncover. Any variety, any error is going to be in this market report, and it's generally the last 24 hours of sales on eBay. These are all confirmed sales. All the coins are raw, no graded material. And the idea is any extra coins that don't fit the profile of your collection, you can go out and actually sell these coins in their current state of preservation and hopefully make, some pretty good extra money. It's the holiday season, so, there are people that are out and about going through bankrolls. They're even going as far as going and checking out like a local coin shop or a coin show and doing some pretty savvy cherry picking there. Like I said, no graded material. We're using all raw seller images. So there's going to be a few of them that are a little bit out of focus. There might not be a complete obverse or reverse of the coin. So we're just going to make do with what we have. The market couldn't be any more robust. And I would expect this to continue on probably right before Christmas. Is usually when things begin to kind of slow down. As you guys know, it's the coin market has been anything else but typical. But customarily, we do see a little bit of a slowdown in the days leading up to Christmas and New Year's. So it'd be interesting to see how the just kind of like the small to medium market, especially errors and varieties that you see on this report, will change over the course of the next 4 weeks. But I want to thank you guys first and foremost to being a loyal viewer and listener to my work. Been around YouTube for 11 years plus. Been in the coin hobby and also did a stint as a dealer for a few years for over 25 years total. So I have a little bit of skin in the game. I think I know what I'm talking about, but I will make the occasional mistake here and there. But that also just allows me to say to each and every single one of you that it doesn't matter where you're at in your experience of numismatics, you're always learning. So that's important. Another thing to keep in mind, I am battling a little bit of some allergies, so I might sound kind of funny. More funny than normal. You might even hear a cough or sneeze in there. I'm going to try my best to suppress that, but I figure I'll let you guys know. It's not the C word, in case you guys are wondering. I already had that, and I'm, immunized, as Aaron Rodgers would say. But anyways, let's go ahead and take a look at some coins here from the last 24 hours on eBay. We're going to start it off with a 2-coin set of 1995D. These are Denver's. Lincoln Memorial cents. These are struck off center. The coin on the right, a lot more attractive because you really do have a full date. You have a mint mark. The coin looks a lot better compared to the one on the left. But the seller, says that this is a 1995D pair. So, I can't really see it too well right here what that last digit is, but if you can see a bottom tail of the 5, then, the odds are that that's exactly what it is. The back of the coin, so you can see just some of the copper plating pull away, which, will allow some of that zinc core to really shine through there, and that's what you see with the gray. Now, respectively, the coin on the right is about off-center by about 70%. The coin on the left, about 60%. Pretty nice if you're looking to add this as part of a date set or just to have an error type in your collection. This will probably work out pretty well. This pair sold for $23.75, and that's with 9 bids. Keep in mind, if you're cherry picking these, there are dealers that don't particularly care for errors, and that's a real shame, but this is where you can come in and kind of wheel and deal. And hopefully, buy these up at a reasonable amount of money, add one to your collection, and possibly sell another. So pretty nice way to kick it off. And then, we're going to continue on with a favorite of mine. Believe it or not, this Bicentennial $half has seen quite a bit of circulation, and I find it hard to believe because of the amount of circulation wear. There's even some gunk or adhesive on the obverse of the coin, and it's got a pretty nice sizable scratch. So it's obviously an imperfect coin, but man, why couldn't it have happened to a different date of Kennedy $half? Bicentennials, by nature, are worth probably about 10 to 20% more market-wise for mint errors. So, there is always going to be desirability in Bicentennials, whether it's the quarter, the $half, or the Ike, if you have a nice error. This one right here, a little bit off-center, I'd say by about 15%. I mean, it's pretty nice regardless. This one sold for $53.52, and 14 total bids got it up to that amount. Now here's a pleasing looking 1952 S Washington quarter. Don't let the S mint mark fool you. These silver quarters of the 50s are quite plentiful in any grade that you choose. This coin looks pretty good, probably more of along the line of like a low-end mint state, even with all the luster, but you do see some breaks in certain areas. There's a little bit of a scratch here and on Washington's cheek. But really what we're trying to drive home here with this quarter is that if you have bulk silver, like junk silver 90%, it's always a good idea to look through them for errors and varieties. This is a pretty good variety here. I actually own a few of this very same coin. And it's a repunch mint mark. This is the S over S. The secondary S is north of the primary, and really what you're looking for is a little bit of a devil's horn right here. And that's actually part of the top curl of the S. That's supposed to peek out there, and the seller did a good job with the arrows kind of highlighting what we're looking at. This is also FS501 in the Cherry Picker's Guide, and this one sold for $41. So again, this is a coin that you could easily cherry pick for about $7, $8 in this condition, especially at a coin shop. I love cherry picking coin shops, and if you have your loop, your magnifier with you, it's just going to make it that much more easier. But yeah, pretty cool one right here. A little bit of a devil's horn S mint mark, and you got something that really shakes and bakes. Now, if you're looking for a premier example of a modern generation as far as compositionally, a copper-coated zinc Lincoln that is actually missing the copper plating, this is it right here. It's a 1988D Lincoln Memorial set with the entire copper coating completely missing from this coin. Now, keep in mind, the copper coating didn't fall off at any one point. This planchet right here was just a straight up zinc planchet. It did not receive any of the copper coating on there, and as a result, it's a just full, complete zinc planchet strike. One thing that you'll keep in mind, because I know people have found these in much lower grades, but when you do find them, obviously, just like any coin, it doesn't matter if it's zinc, copper, nickel, whatever, you're going to get a lot of luster. Okay, a lot of the coins that have been played around with, where they've dipped the coin in something to take the copper plating off, you're going to get a lot of corrosion on the coin, some pitting on the surfaces. It's going to look very unnatural, as strong as a strike may look or appear. This one right here has tons of luster. I mean, this is really a nice mid-state version of this error type, and this one right here is sold for $36.25, and that's with 19 bids on this one. Now, conversely, don't overlook or pass up some of the beaters as well. This 1930 has seen a lot of activity in the last, 90 plus years that it's been around. Can't believe that's 90 years old already. But as you can see on the reverse, we got some sort of strike through, possibly struck through maybe a detached lamination, or possibly, just a shard of wood. That was kind of commonplace 70, 90 years ago, but this is a good one to just pull aside. Even if you don't keep it in your collection, you could always sell something like this for a few bucks. This example sold for $3.75, and that's with 5 bids. I also wanted to note, the seller of this coin did a really good job taking pictures of a complete obverse and reverse of the coin, even though there's a little bit of out of focus factor on this one. And the reason why I brought that up is this seller is brand new, zero feedback, trying to get his or her legs underneath them in the eBay selling game. So this is a good way to kind of start it out here, a low dollar error that you could throw up on there. And with organic bids, okay, this one was able to achieve a few dollars. So that's a good way to start it out. You got to do more of these to kind of build a reputation on eBay. Now here's another one here, 1994 Lincoln Memorial. Now you can tell that the obverse has somewhat of a weak strike, and it does. This one was actually struck through a little bit of grease. So that obverse hammer die had received at one point a nice lubrication of grease right on the die areas, and any friction point between the die and the actual machinery, they all receive some sort of lubrication. Because just like automobiles, guys, there's a lot of wear and tear with these things. But, when a coin is struck and there's a little bit of grease on the die, it's not going to upset a lot of the design details of the coin. And that is apparent here. You got, a lot of weakness in Liberty. You see a lot of weakness on the highest points of the coin. The whole face of Lincoln is pretty flat, and so is the hair. And then a little bit of the second 9 in the date as well. This one right here sold for $6. It's not a fantastic condition coin, so that kind of kept the value of it down a little bit. But normally, in mid-state condition, these typically sell for about 10 to 20 bucks, depending on how major they are. This is a good one to look out for. Now, mid-50s repunch mint marks are a boon for any treasure hunter of wheat cents during that era. 1955D, one of the most common, most plentiful dates and mint marks that you will encounter if you do search through wheat cents. But there's also quite a bit of repunch mint marks. This is a D over D. It is RPM number 2. Now, that wasn't in the original listing, but I happened to go on to Chuck's website, coppercoins.com. Make sure you guys bookmark that. It's an awesome site. And found that it was a match to this particular coin for RPM number 2. And there's a few of them, all right? And they all, range in kind of like dramatic appearance, and then some are pretty muted. This one's pretty nice. It's sold for $8.99. So that's not bad for a non-cherry picker's guide variety. That seems to be the going rate for a lot of these. And here's another one. This is actually sold by one of my favorite sellers, Jim Macker. Well, that's what the eBay handle says. But this is a 1951D Lincoln wheat cent. Bet you guys didn't know that there was a pretty nice double die obverse that you could find on this Denver minted coin, believe it or not. So check out a few of the letters here in the motto, "In God We Trust." And then the word "we" is especially strong. You can see the splits, you can see the notching, as you would normally see on a true double die coin. The coin is in pretty decent shape, but based off of this close-up image of God, you can see some carbon spotting. So that's what that looks like under close magnification. This one is also designated as FS101 in the Cherry Picker's Guide, so it's got a lot of credence to it. It's also DDO001 as well. This one sold for $38.16. Again, it's a seldom known double die. Yeah, it's in the Cherry Picker's Guide, but not a lot of people go out of their way to specifically look for this coin. So make sure you know of this one and that you're checking every 51D you come across. Here's a 72. Now, talking about obscure dates for double to dies. This is a good one. Obscure in a sense that this particular double die isn't as well known as the first like 7 or 8 of them. As you guys know, there was like a good dozen or so known double dies for this particular date. Now there's the FS101, which is absolutely insane. I mean, you will go blind if you look at it and stare at it for too long. And then as you go on down the line, I mean, the doubling is still nice on all the other types or attributions, but when you get to this one is kind of underwhelming. Now this is FS109 in the Cherry Picker's Guide, and really it's just that extra tail of the two, and that's all it is really. You know, that's why I said it's probably one of the least spectacular double dies that you will encounter. This one sold for $16.16. Now here's another off-center Lincoln Memorial cent. Now this is a little bit tougher date. I think we've seen a 66 sold before, but not nearly as good a shape as this one. You have a full date. Again, that matters to collectors of this series. And the coin is in relatively nice shape. It's about a nice, full brown mint state coin. This one right here is off center by about 20%, and it's sold for $41, and that's with 14 bids. We got more silver, guys. Make sure you're checking out your silver. This time we have a 1956 Philadelphia minted Washington quarter. These are 90% silver as you would expect, and this one has a rather small, shallow, curved clip right here. So it's got a clip planchet right over RTY and Liberty. The coin's in pretty nice shape, probably close to condition as the other Washington quarter that we saw earlier in the video. This one sold for $19.99, and that's with 2 bids. Again, the more clips, the more they're worth. Singular clips, while pretty common on silver coinage, they can be worth a little bit more of a premium because, it's not clad. Here's another one here. This time a 63 Franklin half dollar by the same seller, might I add. It's got a really shallow clip, kind of more raggedy than actual curve or straight clip. But it's a 63 Philadelphia Franklin half dollar. Again, check for stuff like this in your silver. You'll be glad you did. This one sold for $24.99. And the last time I checked, a melt spot value, 90%, half dollar of any sort is worth a lot less than $25. So you could really, 3 to 4x your potential here. You sell one of these, and you go out and you buy 3 silver 90%ers, and that's a pretty good trade there. This is cool. Now, we've talked about brockages on a number of occasions here in the last 30 days. So we have another one here. There's no date, so we don't know what it is. So it's a Lincoln Memorial cent. You have a pretty nice regular strike on the reverse of the coin, and that's on the left-hand side of the screen. However, when you look on the right-hand side, it looks like another Lincoln Memorial, right? And then you also see some of the letters and all that stuff surrounding, but they're all going backwards. So what this is a like a mid-stage brockage and a full brockage, might add, because it's centered. But to let you guys know, you guys are familiar with die caps, right? Like strike-through cap dies. So essentially, it's a cap die, but it's in its earliest stages where you still have some of that reverse design on the cap that is in relief. So when that coin is still stuck to that hammer die and it's striking another coin, as long as it has a healthy amount of relief on there, that will strike onto the other side of the coin. Normally you would have Abraham Lincoln and the date on this side. But as you can see, the normal thing with these is, the lettering's going to be mirrored. The coin will appear bigger, more distorted. It's not a first strike brockage because the design details of the coin stuck to the die had warped at this point. So it's much bigger than the overall size of a normal Lincoln cent, but that's pretty cool. Brockages are probably one of the top tier errors in numismatics. This particular coin right here sold for $203.95. Keep in mind, these do come up in circulation. especially if you have like BU bags of coins. And they hadn't made those until like the early 2000s. So they are still out there. Normally, when you rip into those bags, you are going to find like one or two kind of cool errors. This is one of those possibilities. There's a little bit of a secondary three-quarter view of that reverse brockage. Keep in mind, the strike will be incused into the coin. It's not going to be raised because that stuck coin on the die has its details in relief still at that point. Now, looking at this Flying Eagle cent, it doesn't look like a whole lot. This is, as a matter of fact, one of your like really bargain basement type of coins. If you went to a coin shop, more than likely, you know, your dealer's going to have a small little cup or something of bargain $5 Flying Eagle cents. Okay, normally they're going to be corroded. They're going to be low condition coins, and you know, it's some of these kind of bulky type of supplies at a coin shop that really offers some pretty good treasure hunting. This one right here, you guys probably already seen it, features a pretty substantial cud die break right here under the date. So a piece of the die had cracked and fallen out before it struck this coin. But if we went a little bit closer, you could see just the sheer size of this cud goes into the date. Cuds, again, affect the rim area, and it goes into the design. So pretty nice, not bad for a cheap pickup. You could always flip these for a nice little profit. This one sold for $49.95. Not too bad. Okay, something's definitely going on with this $1 bill. It's missing some overprint, right? So we're missing district seals. We're missing the 4 numerals on the corners. And, of course, the serial numbers are completely missing. So where is it? It's a 77 $1 Federal Reserve note. But if you look on the back, oops. Yeah, the BEP employees or whoever kind of missed the boat on this one. The sheet was fed upside down. And then that overprint was printed on the back. So 77 is one of those common dates for the third print being printed on the back of the sheet. I've seen a number of them in auction, and they're always quite valuable. This one right here, again, the condition is really nice. It's gem crisp, very nice note, sold for $274.99, and that's with 35 bids on this one. All right, here's another rough-looking Lincoln wheat cent. Now, keep in mind, you know, there are some gems here. Here's another one, surprisingly, that actually garnered enough attention for the PCMR. 1914, there's no Denver mint mark, there's no San Francisco, so we don't have to worry about rarity. But take a look at the back. There is a retained lamination right here. Not on the dollar bill, but actually on the coin. You can see it's retained. It's got, you know, a little fold over in certain areas. Do not pick at it or tear it off. That is a no-no. But this one right here, in spite of its condition, did sell for $27.25, and that's with 7 bids. Keep in mind, the key to some successful sales is going to be the background. Look at that. They use a completely black background. I think they probably took a picture of the coins and more than likely cropped them, you know, where that's going to be a much better presentation. It's easy to see. And the pictures are really spot on focus-wise. So that's another kind of fast tip for you guys if you're selling these is to, you know, pick up a program, download like Photoscape onto your computer or device, and really use the tools on there to do some cropping, you know, refine your photos for your listing, and it's going to go a long way, much like this one. This is a coin that without the right kind of photo editing could have easily sold for like $1-2. It could have been a real downer, but this one, very nice. Like this one, for example. Now, there are obverse and reverse images, but they're not full. But this is a 1941 Lincoln wheat cent. All right, check out the lamination detachment on the back. Pretty crazy. So this thing had fallen off a long time ago. The coin had, you know, recirculated and retoned this brown color. Condition-wise, it's not great. It's got verdigris, corrosion, various other things and anomalies going on here. This one, however, still did manage to sell for $7.58, and that's with 7 bids. And the same goes for this one. We don't have full obverse and reverse images, but this is another nice 1945 Lincoln Wheat with a lamination. So again, the coin looks rough, but you can pull out just about any coin that looks like this and really make a few bucks. Okay, you got to take the small sales with the big ones, and they all add up at the end. This one sold for $9.58, and that's with 6 bids, which is quite solid for a coin of this condition. Here, a little update, $25 box of pennies. These are Loomis rolls, straight from the bank. So the seller did open up the box to take a picture and show you guys what you're getting. Again, the market's strong for these because there's not a lot of banks giving these out to just anyone. This one here is sold for $72.40. Geez, the market just continues to go nuts and gaga for these type of things. All right, pretty nice. We got no date. Oh, man. Too bad this thing didn't have a date. That'd be awesome. But it's a Washington quarter, copper nickel clad composition, and this one is off center by about 25%. The coin is in pretty nice shape, and, you know, even though it doesn't have a full date, it does have some of that wow factor. Like, this is a coin that you could show buddies of yours that don't know anything about coins and say, hey, look at this thing. That's a pretty nice error. And then they'll be able to identify with it. This one right here, by the way, is our highlight seller of the day that goes by CEFCO. So CEFCO, I guess, is the name of this seller. Had a number of really nice listings sold here in the last day. We've highlighted a few, of course. This one right here sold for $69.58, and that's with 29 bids. And another one from CEFCO. We have a really nice, man, I haven't seen one of these in a little bit. 1988p Broad Strike. This one right here, look at that rim, man. That thing's fat. Yeah. Broad strike coins occur when the collar that normally holds the coin in place during the strike was not fully engaged. It wasn't set to its desired position during the strike. So, with that being said, the metal flow has to go somewhere. It goes outwards, you know. It's like pressing your finger in a ball of Play-Doh. It just goes outwards. This one right here, pretty decent shape as well. Sold for $27.58, and that's with 13 bids. Now, this one's crazy. Now, yeah, you got that nickel layer folded up and over. But in reality, what this one was is it was a clamshell at one point. I don't know if the owner of the coin kind of helped it along and folded it over for shock value. I don't recommend that. But yeah, the nickel layer of this coin had folded over and flipped. But it is in reality a lamination or a clamshell. And this one right here sold for $50.58, and that's with 18 bids. Again, another listing from CEFCO. Another one from the same seller. We have a no-date Roosevelt dime. So this one is off-center by about 70% per the seller listing. It's a nice shape. Again, no full date on this. Will kind of hold back the value. But this one sold for $20.58. Pretty nice, very solid amount of money for a no-date off-center coin. And that's with 23 bids, by the way. And the final CEFCO listing is going to be a double-struck 1988 Jefferson Nickel. I love these. This one right here, again, pretty nice shape. You have that second strike that is off-center by about 85%, give or take. You have a full date and mint mark, so you know where this originated from. And that also matters to buyers of this type of coin. This one right here sold for, let's see, 1988p, right? Okay, so this one right here sold for $27.86, and that's with 12 bids. Pretty nice. All right, so we know why this one's here. All right, you guys concur. Just a big old die break cut on the reverse. These earlier copper nickel, what they call white cents. So from 1859 to 1864. The CN planchets were a lot thicker, all right? But this one right here, probably like a net VG graded coin. You could buy these for around $10 if you needed one for a typeset, like an affordable typeset. But you could also cherry pick these quite frequently. Cud die breaks on Indian head cents grow on trees. You don't really have to look too far and wide to find a good example. This one right here sold for $99.95, which is a tremendous amount of money for this coin. Very good amount of money as well. How about 1977 Jefferson Nickel? A little bit out of focus on this one. It's off center by about, 15-20%, give or take. And the coin was imaged in a 2x2 holder. So, with the plastic sheen on there, it's going to play around with your focus, not in a good way. This coin right here sold for $21.55, and that's with 22 bids. Now, the heartbreak of the week has to go to this coin. And I'll tell you here in a second, but you guys see what's happening. This is a really big Cud die break, right? This is the type of coin that if you found it and you sold it, you would almost expect $100 to $200 from this sale. When it comes to Cud die breaks, size matters. And this is a less frequently encountered, I guess, date for Cud die breaks, a 69S. I mean, come on. You don't hear about that often. But normally, under normal circumstances, this would be a high dollar coin. But I think someone got a huge rip from this one. Considering it only sold for $16.61. 3 bids. Now, this thing must have had sold overnight or something, like at 2 o'clock in the morning. I didn't quite check, but, what else could it be? Or maybe it was a one-day listing. And usually with those, you don't get the amount of traffic or eyeballs on it. But man, someone hit a home run buying this thing. But there you go. That is the heartbreaker of the week right there. So yeah, whatever you do, don't do what this guy did. I don't know what that is, but the pictures are quite nice for the listing, so it couldn't be that. All right, so you guys checked out my video on 2017 Fed Reserve notes, right? Here's another one to throw in there. This is a new recent note. As you can tell, the first print, which is that black underprint on the front of the note, is a little bit faded, and it really is just insufficient ink. All right, so the ink well was getting a little dry there when the front or the first print of these notes were being administered. So that's kind of like your end result right there. 2017, and it sold for $27.10, and that's with 10 bids. I think this is our last piece of currency of the day, but you can see one of the serial numbers is missing from the bottom left set of serial. Yeah, I guess the 1 is missing. It could either be insufficient inking or an obstruction. So that means there is probably like a little piece of paper or something right there that was in the way on the sheet before the third print was administered to the front of the sheet. But pretty cool. You don't see these that often. This is a 74 series $1 note. And this one sold for $21.30, and that's with 13 bids. So the market must really have changed here recently. This is not a high-grade coin at all, but you guys see what I'm seeing, right? That doubled die reverse on an 83 is just hard to miss. This is a coin that, no doubt about it, without the aid of a magnifier, you'd be able to see from a mile away. It's that strong. But the coin obviously has circulated. It's got some weird kind of like staining and toning, especially here on the obverse of the coin. Where I'm pointing at. But yeah, this is kind of like one of your like main top 25 Lincolns to look for. This one, oh boy, sold for $152.50, and that's with 16 total bids. Either the market's drying up for these, or just the market is going up on them regardless of grade, which is good news. It's just showing you some of the headway that the coin market is taking for some of these niche varieties. 1918S Lincoln Wheat Cent. Now this one here has a not only a detached lamination on the front of the coin, but you can also see a little retained piece as well right here on the word trust. So a little piece of the lamination had folded over onto the U. Coin is in pretty decent shape for its age. And again, another tough one if you were collecting these by date. This is a tough one to find. Sold for $24.50, and that's with 10 bids. Quite nice. Here's another cud, and I guarantee you this one did sell for the expected market value. Now, what we have here is a 1982 large date. This is also a bronze composition, a copper, but it's got that die break cud over the word trust, and then kind of obscuring the word we a little bit. Condition-wise, it's in nice shape, albeit it does have some pretty gnarly carbon spots on the reverse of the coin. All that aside, this one still sold for $49.95. That is a pretty good sale there for that one. And then finally, the coin that we all want to talk about today. How about 1954S Lincoln Wheat Cent? This is the particular date that is rife with all sorts of little die chips and cracks and all that great stuff. You guys see the date? You want me to go in a little bit closer? There you go. Yeah, that's what was on this one, was a little die chip in the 9. There's a little die chip under the 9 on that bottom tail. You do have a chip combining the 9 and 5, and then you have a crack combining the S mint mark to the 5, and then all sorts of weird other stuff. Yeah, this thing is all knotted up in the date area, and I come across these a lot. I actually have a whole bunch of these just sitting in a bag somewhere, of just kind of like minor die cracks and cuts and, you know, chips and all that great stuff. But apparently the market has all of a sudden kind of woken up, and there's like a niche audience for these now. How much did this one exactly sell for? How about to the tune of $97.93? And I think it was like with 20 bids or something like that. It was insane, but I would never have expected a coin like this to sell for nearly a C note. The pictures were fantastic. I mean, the overall pictures, great lighting. The close up, I mean, that's where it's at. That's your money shot right there. But wow, I can't believe that stuff like this, stuff that you would have a hard time selling for like $5 or more, all of a sudden reaching just incredibly new highs. I mean, you pretty much have to be high to spend nearly $100 on something like this, but you know, to each their own. You can't really dictate what someone spends their money on. And obviously, we had a number of people that were bought in to this. So apparently someone needed this bad enough that they were willing to go into a bidding war with someone else. But there you go. That's the last coin of the day. Hopefully it brought you a little bit of a smile to your face, maybe a little bit of inspiration and incentive to go out there and do some hunting for yourself. Thank you guys again for all your views and support, and for tuning in all the way through this long video. They're all long, but you know, you got a chatterbox that really loves coins here talking to you today. Don't forget to like, share, or subscribe to this video if you enjoyed today's content. Hit the dislike button if you don't. Coinaholics, that's going to go ahead and do it. We are discovering together. Would love to hear your thoughts. What's your favorite of the week? But you guys take care. Best of luck in your hunts, and I will see you on the next coin video. So long.